From the I-Team tonight, how accurate are FEMA's flood maps as we worry about our own natural disasters yet to come?
Flood maps can go years without getting updated, and I-Team reporter Tamara Sakarsik discovered that can cost you a lot of money in damage.
We weren't even aware that this was a flood zone.
When Kevin Smith purchased a home on Julian Street in East Providence decades ago, flooding wasn't a concern.
So I think that there's been a lot of changes in the water plane, and water has nowhere else to go.
The flooding has gotten so bad over the past 5 years, many of his neighbors have up and left, taking advantage of a voluntary buyout program that uses federal funds to purchase flood-prone properties. It's turned into a bit of a ghost town, huh?
It's very quiet here. Basically, we don't know what the big picture is for our neighborhood.
The ultimate goal is to, restore the floodplain.
Michael Viola of the USDA tells me Smith lives in one of several neighborhoods in Rhode Island, now part of the federal buyout program, after recent storms turned roads into rivers and forced water rescues. Should homes have ever been built here?
Absolutely not.
The same can be said for many neighborhoods across the state, including those not considered designated flood zones.
But if you're counting on FEMA's flood maps, you are making a mistake.
Official flood zones are designated by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which Rhode Island U.S. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse argues often gets it wrong.
I've seen over and over again where FEMA flood maps compared to the area that actually ended up flooded were less than 50% accurate.
You are an elected official in Washington. Why not do more? Why doesn't Congress do more to hold them accountable?
Well, I badger them pretty relentlessly in the hearings when they come in.
The NBC 10 I-Team took a closer look at the issue and discovered many of FEMA's flood maps are out of date. Maps for Kent, Providence, and Washington counties were updated in 2023, but that was the first update for Providence County since 2015. The flood map for Bristol County, Rhode Island, hasn't been updated in over a decade.
You'd like to see those updated more often. We know that storms are becoming more frequent, more severe, and the flooding as a result is commensurate with that.
In an email, FEMA told me, quote, "The frequency of map updates is subject to the availability of funding. Money continues to be a problem for the agency. In August, FEMA ran out of disaster relief funding for the second year in a row before the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season."
So I think there's a very significant reboot that's required for how the government responds to these storms. The real impact is for the homeowner who doesn't have flood insurance and who has heard from a government organization that they don't need flood insurance, that they're not in the flood map.
If you're wondering whether you should have flood insurance, FEMA says yes. A spokesperson told me if it rains where you live, flood insurance is needed despite what their maps say. For the NBC 10 I-Team, I'm Tamara Sakarsik.